In this week's channeled message from the angels, they are talking about the shift in consciousness, about how, as we are navigating our own expansion, we are having to navigate loss. But they tell us that as part of it, we are actually expanding the total amount of love in the universe. So, amazing message. I am so glad you guys are here to share it with me. Thank you so much for joining me. So welcome back to my channel, you guys. And for anybody who's new, welcome. I'm really, really glad you're here. My name is Ann Tucker. I'm a trance channel. I channel from the angelic realm. I do that by raising my awareness. I go into a deep meditative state or trance, and from there I raise my awareness as high as I can go. I stretch a little higher, I connect, messages, information, and healing come through, and I share it here with you guys on YouTube. So, and this week's message is a beauty. It's lovely, it's poetic, and it's deep. It's on 3 different levels. It's talking about the idea of loss, like the information that in here and the wisdom in here is applicable about individual loss, about the difficulties that we go through personally and how to understand those. But it's also about collectively and at the universal sort of everything level. And it's really relating to how, as we move through loss is a part of expansion, that we have to be the letting go of what was in order to expand into the new. But of course, the way they explain it, they give us a very, very cosmic perspective, which I just find absolutely amazing. So my format is, first, I'm going to that's kind of our brief summary. I will then share the live channeling with you. And then after that, we will break it down paragraph by paragraph, because by doing that, we get a lot more depth and meaning out of the message. So, and if I was to summarize the message, I would say a metaphor that they gave me. So a lot of times when I'm channeling, I don't have a hard time following the words when I'm channeling, because I'm very much in my right brain. I'm kind of like way over here. And so, but they give me a visual track, and I'm seeing images as they're speaking, and it's easier for me to remember the visuals. And one of the visuals they gave me was of an egg, and they were talking about expansion, and they were showing me that if you think of ourselves in this current state of consciousness that we are in right now as like being inside an egg, and like imagine that we are all chicks and we are being, growing inside this egg, and we're going to get to a part where we feel like we're pretty much a chick, like we've got the legs and the eyes and the beak, and we got this thing mastered, like we are at the mastery level of being a chick, and we're still inside the egg, and as far as we know, this egg is the entire world. And so we are now like a big fish in a small pond, right? We are feeling pretty confident in ourselves. We're feeling like we know who we are. Like we've got this whole being a chick thing down until the egg breaks. And then all of a sudden, this cozy container that we felt so confident in is gone. And we go from being a big fish in a small space to being a small fish in a very, very, very big space. And so the loss that happens as we go through expansion is that sense of identity of who am I, of going from a place of feeling very secure in who we are, feeling like we know the rules, we know how to navigate, to going to a space where we really don't. And this is going to be really much bigger as we go through the state of consciousness, because we are actually birthing a higher vibration self from inside of us. So we have layers to this. We have this other piece of it, which is that we are currently living in a reality in which we are conditioned to not necessarily trust that which is outside of ourselves. That we are living in a world where self-love has meant setting boundaries, and only allowing love in, right? And respecting our own feelings. And so that which is other has to be known before it can come in. So trying to get to that space of integration with this higher self means we have to overcome some sense of who we've been and how we have been successful in our current reality. So it's a really, really dynamic and interesting message. I think you guys are going to love it. So, and just let you know, any of you who are in New York, this upcoming, like not this weekend, but next weekend, I will be live in New York for our one-day event. And if you are around, I would love for you to come and join me. Here is a link on how to get information about it. So it's going to be in Tarrytown, New York, which is just outside of New York City. So, and that is on Sunday, and I have the date there as well. I'm not so good with dates. All right, you guys, I hope you guys love the message.
Beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We are within. We begin speaking to you now on the loss of loving, of all that has separated you from yourselves, of how you once were in the togetherness with all things, and now alone you forge new friendships, new pathways to reuniting from within. We speak to the sense of yourselves as having been awakened, of thriving from within an encapsulated space of oneness, wherein all things are joined together again. The sense of yourselves as having been brought full circle to the truth of who you are now, and embracing your inner selves, your inner light, the wholeness of you. There is a shape of things to come that empties itself in preparation for who you are, a next new beginning. And from within this shell of I am incorporated with all that is, there is yet again a momentary sense of loss that is coming. The transition from where you are into the next new beginning must be allowed to breathe. There cannot be a transitioning that becomes easily. It cannot be held in friendship with how you were. It cannot come upon you stealthily in the night under surrender and allow you to slip into itself. It comes upon you as friendship, but with one you do not know yet, as in a soul that has repaired itself from what was broken, but cannot yet identify the wholeness of itself, that knows it is longing, that has known lack, that has been bereaved, that has been separated, and wants to reunify with who you are. In the wholeness of who you are today, the next instantiation of yourself reaches toward you. It seeks you. It befriends you. But from the wholeness of who you are today, you are acquainted with what is not familiar, with what has been brought toward you as someone else, something else, not to be trusted. As though in the encampment of a personal life and living, there are formed feelings of surrendered experiencing, wherein you are taught what can be brought toward you and what must be forsaken. You are taught where to give love and where to feel love. You are allowed to surrender to yourself and to allow other beings their own separated harmonies within their own souls. There is loss and longing, which is repaired internally through the surrender to your own soul. But, and yet, within that space of surrendered inquisition, there is a knowledge that you cannot contain within you all parts of the whole. You cannot become what is not in friendship with yourself. You cannot become that which is not permeable to love. This creates for the soul a sense of isolation from itself, as if you must be surrendered in this time and place to a permanent state of I am, but they are not. And this endowment is in grace. It is an apportionment of what is grace itself. It leaves the self with a surrendered thought, which is that loving myself includes a separative statement from that which is not love. As you move into the next new beginning, you shall be reacquainted with what is self, that is other. What is friendship with that which cannot yet love you? That which cannot yet know itself, for it has not yet become itself. This creates in the self a sense of I am one with what I am, and I must lose that tenderly held sensation in order to catapult myself into the next becoming. Loss is an experience you will be having. Loss is the sense of yourself in the beginnings of a new friendship with what is the next endowment of your soul. The next who you are comes to itself readily, comes to itself with less anxiety than has been held in previous incarnations. There is a sense of your own permanence in this world and in all realities. There's trust and faith in where you are heading, and yet the soul knows what it has experienced thus far. The soul knows that that which it is not cannot be held too close at first. That which is not must be known before it can experience love. Thus there is otherness and separation reintroduced to who you are. A sense of yourself in separation with what is new to you, with what is yet becoming, with what cannot yet be known. And thus the unfolding has begun, and the sense of yourself as having been something more enduring, more whole, becoming more lost and more separated from yourself. And this is confusion. There is ache in this loss, the loss from what was endowed, which has been held as incorporated, as done, as completed, as if the I amness has been felt to completion. But in the preparation for the evolution of who you are, this completion must unravel yet again. And in the unraveling, there is the felt experience once more of loss. We encourage you in the knowing of yourself that all expansion leads to higher heights, greater depth of self-loving. All expansion leads to the incorporation of more of who you can become. This wholeness is yet endowed with separation. It cannot become the allness of you because it is felt as a surrendered experience to that which is love and that which is not. In the wholeness of your next experiencing, all shall be felt as what is loving all that is. This can only become in the experiencing of letting go of that which you have been. Loss shall be felt, confusion. Who am I? What am I? In the undoing of where I have been, in the unlacing of what I have defined myself as. The self-definition as one who can understand themselves, who can incorporate themselves within this density. The letting go of this shall not be readily accepted by yourselves. You shall feel as if you have taken a turn against where you should be going, as if this next placement of your soul has somehow surrendered in the wrong direction. And we encourage yourselves to know this is not the case. It is only that to be found more whole, you must yet again unveil the tenderest parts of yourself. You must set down the barricades of I am whole with what I am now and become what is not yet known. And where separation has been an accepted state, you shall now encompass all that is. This shall be felt over time through the endurance of your own willingness to expand beyond your soul as it stands. The willingness to open yourself to a greater heightened state of permeability to all that will unfold, all that shall become, but is not yet known. The wholeness of you is yet something experienced, something real and profound. What you have loved has nourished your soul and created the expansion which is now before you. But in order to lean into the fullness of the next endowment of grace, which is before you now, this must all be set down, relinquished. The title of I am must evolve, and this shall be felt as loss. And for this, we endow you with the grace of our presence to be the witness to what shall be felt as painful, as a surrendered experiencing that must be endowed with some sorrow, a sorrowful experience of I am not all that I was anymore, and shall I become this again? You shall not. You shall not become what you were. And the experiencing you have held as profoundly developmental must be let go. And into this surrendered space, an emptiness profound must occupy your heart for a time. A sense of I am lost to myself. Who am I now? How shall I begin again? How shall I reframe what I am in this less dense, more interpretive environment? It shall not be known until it becomes. But within this new framework of expansion, what shall be known in time is a greater, broader version of you. All expansion is held thus. There must be a relinquishing of what was, which shall be felt as loss. And in the enduring aspects of your soul, the greatness of you shall be found. It is in the permanence of your loving, of yourself. It is in the willingness to grow again, to take what was, to set down what you were, and to find in the fodder of this disintegration a new-found love beginning. And you are this. You are always this. You are the Creator's light. You are the new beginning. You have the ability to be found and renewed again and again. And within each incorporation, you become a greater light, a more endowed soul. And through these experiencings, you incorporate more of all that is and all that is becoming, and you re-endow yourself with a new grace, with a heightened state of awareness where more things become love because you are them. The more you accept and broaden your soul, the greater love becomes. So, beautiful message that I think it fits to explain all types of loss, all types of endings. It helps to explain. To me, it's so beautiful. And I think it's here they're sharing it with us to help us understand how we're going to change with this shift in consciousness, to explain how it might not feel in the beginning, like it might be uncomfortable. We might be confused. We might feel loss in the beginning because we have to set down part of our identity and our self-definition and what has made us comfortable and where we have felt like we were maybe the top dog, in a small pond, where we have felt like we've sort of reached a certain level of mastery of being who we are. And then we're going to get to a place where it's like, nope, nope, you don't know. You don't know yet, because all of a sudden we're playing on a much larger field, and they're really spelling that out, that we'll get our legs underneath us. We will figure it out. And when we do, we will have a much larger canvas on which to paint. But in the interim experience, we may feel like, oh my gosh, did I do something wrong? Like, I thought I'd be feeling better now. Why do I feel worse? And I feel like and it is that idea that yeah, we have to grieve the loss. Let's go through it paragraph by paragraph and talk it through, because I feel like there is a lot here. And I know we have, I want to make sure that we get to it for you guys. All right, so let's start here at the beginning. They usually give us a broadcast in the beginning about what it's about, and they say, "Hello, we are within. We are speaking to you now on the loss of loving, all that is separated, of all that is separate, on the loss of loving, of all that has separated you from yourselves, of how you once were in the togetherness with all things, and now alone you forge new friendships, new pathways to uniting from within." So here they're starting to begin the message. So the idea, the way they're phrasing this is that we have been on the path of unifying from within, of unifying ourself. And but we still have this concept in the reality that we're in today. We have this concept of self and other. And we say, okay, it's about sort of the concept, we're living in this concept of free will, of like, if there's someone who is not receptive to love, if there's someone even in our own family, if they're not receptive to love, we can love and allow them to be as they are, and we can still feel whole from within, right? That there's this idea that separation exists in our reality, that it is a part of how we love. And having boundaries and saying, okay, well, I will only accept this behavior, or I won't accept that behavior. And that is how I love myself. I love myself by not allowing this behavior to come into my life, right? I love myself because I'm going to honor my own feelings. So these are boundaries that we set that create separation. And that is necessary in a world where we're dealing with polarity. So we are living, even if we have achieved oneness within ourselves in this reality, it will always include separation. We will always, by nature, in order to respect and honor and love ourselves in this reality, we have to claim our separation from that which is not love, right? And that is what it is to exist in 3D reality. So that is kind of what they're calling out here. And they're saying, we're speaking to you now on the loss of loving, of all that has separated you from yourselves, of how you once were in the togetherness with all things, and now alone. So in other words, we start out and we're all one, like back in the wholeness, back when we're the source. We start out with the togetherness with all things, and then now where we are today, alone, right? We form new friendships, new pathways to uniting from within. So and this is 2 layers to this, is that forging new friendships, new pathways to unite from inside of ourselves. And then also in the next layer, it's going to be, as we expand, new friendships with the higher octave of ourself, right? New pathways to uniting from within. So they go on next paragraph, and this is really describing the reality we're living in today. They say, we speak to the sense of yourselves as having been awakened, of thriving from within an encapsulated space of oneness, wherein all things are joined together again. And that is, to me, that idea of being inside the egg, right? That encapsulated space of oneness. This is where they were started showing me the egg. And we have the idea. They say, we speak to the sense of yourselves as having been awakened, that we are awakened. Like once, I think my definition of awakened personally is when the moment someone starts to recognize that everything in the outside was created from the inside, when they recognize that all their experiences stem from something that was already inside of them, and that it's just showing it to them like a projection. And so once that happens, it completely changes our dialogue from the victimhood, right, to creator. And we begin to recognize that we have the ability, if we just, rather than trying to blame, we turn around and we begin to work on ourselves. And so that, to me, that is the moment that happens, we're on a spiritual journey, like that's the go button. And so, yeah. And so they're speaking to us from that perspective of like, that we are all on this awakened journey, that we have the sense of ourselves as having been awakened, of thriving from within an encapsulated space of oneness, wherein all things are joined together again. So this has been the process in this 3D reality. The goal has been to try to bring back as many aspects of ourselves into wholeness within this defined space, this encapsulated space that we are in. They say the sense of yourselves as having been brought full circle to the truth of who you are now, and embracing your inner selves, your inner light, the wholeness of you. So this has been a journey about loving us internally, and like really reincorporating all of our past lives, all of our experiences in this lives, everything that we are in resistance to about ourselves, but not what's necessarily other souls and other parts of humanity, right? Next paragraph, they say, there is a shape of things to come that empties itself in preparation for who you are, the next new beginning. And from within the shell of I am incorporated with all that is, there is yet again a momentary sense of loss that is coming. So this is the next stage, and they're kind of giving us, tipping the hand, just like they tipped my hand a couple of days before my experience over the full moon. That they say, okay, they're saying a sense of loss is coming. This is coming for us. And this will be with the shift in consciousness that we will go through an experience of loss. They say the transition from where you are into the next new beginning must be allowed to breathe. There cannot be a transitioning that becomes easily. So this is why it will feel like loss. They're saying that and that idea that something has to be allowed to breathe, it really makes me think of the message they've been giving us just recently about how when something that we have to return to stillness, that when something ends, we have to allow a period of stillness, and then from that stillness, something new. When we are in the space of stillness, we tap into infinite potential, and something new grows out of it. And so we had a whole message about this. It might have been last week or the week before that message came through. It was a beautiful message talking about the necessity of tapping into that stillness that allows us to create without all of our baggage from the past. And so they're saying the transition from where you are into the next new beginning must be allowed to breathe, right? We have to have this gap in between. We have to go into the stillness, like take a breath, right? There cannot be a transitioning that becomes easily, right? It cannot be held in friendship with how you were. In other words, it has to be a release of how things have been, right? We can't take what we used to be and bring it with us. We can't bring that same sense of confidence, that same sense of like like chalking up and saying, hey, like the big fish in the small pond. We can't keep that feeling anymore. And I just mean that being like the sense of having things figured out, because we will start to feel like we don't anymore. Yeah. And then it cannot come upon you stealthily in the night under surrender and allow you to slip into itself. It comes upon you as friendship, but as one you do not know yet. So this is really important, this idea that it's something we don't know yet. And this is a theme that they'll talk about here in these upcoming paragraphs. So it is this idea of moving as a big fish in a small pond to becoming a small fish in a big pond, and how you're the same size fish, but in the small pond you felt really confident, and in the big pond you feel really unsure of yourself. And this is all of us, right? This is us as we are moving to the higher state of consciousness, that all of a sudden we have this brand new canvas upon which to paint, and it's all unfamiliar, and we feel out of our depth at first, but not for very long. But the idea that we do not know it yet, and so they're going to talk about this in these coming paragraphs, that we have been conditioned in this 3D reality, that which is outside of ourself, that it's like that there's this sense of otherness, that I am who I am, and I'm going to allow you to be who you are. And there's even the sense of, like we have in this reality, we have this sense of privacy and separation, that we have to respect each other's privacy. And when we get to the end of this, when we get to the other side, to the higher state of consciousness, when we're in unity perspective, privacy doesn't make any sense when you are in a state of unity and true oneness. When you're in oneness, you are an open book. There's nothing to hide. You want to be seen to your depth, to your absolute depth, right? But we're not there yet. We are in a state where what we do not know yet can't be loved, right? That which is not known isn't loved. And so that's what they're going to talk about, that's the current state, the current reality we are in, that which is outside of ourselves, that was unknown, is sort of in separation. So we are living in a state of separation that we cannot resolve until we move to unity consciousness. So they say it comes to you as friendship, but with one you do not know yet. So it could be a friend, but we don't know yet. That's this higher state of consciousness. As in a soul that has repaired itself from what was broken, but cannot yet identify with wholeness itself, that knows it is longing, that has known lack, that has been bereaved, that has been separated, and wants to reunify with who you are. So this is this idea that this coming together of something that is like, there's the desire to merge with this higher, to let this higher state of us come up into presence. Like, and it's part of who we are and it's part of itself, but we don't know it yet. It's unfamiliar. We're uncertain with it. It's like coming into going to, from junior high to high school. It's a great big school and it feels scary in the beginning. Next paragraph, they say, in the wholeness of who you are today, the next instantiation of yourself reaches towards you, it seeks you, it befriends you. But from the wholeness of who you are today, you are acquainted with what is not familiar. You are acquainted with what is not familiar, with what has been brought towards you as someone else, something else not to be trusted. As though in the encampment of a personal life and living, there are formed feelings of surrendered experiencing wherein you are taught what can be brought toward you and what must be forsaken. You are taught where to give love and where to feel love. You are allowed to surrender to yourself and to allow other beings their own separated harmonies within their own souls. So here they're really referring to the experience we've been having has been really been about individuality. It's been about saying like, okay, I am going to be good inside of myself, and I'm going to allow, like the what we're trying to get to is the space where we can say, I'm going to be out of polarity, and I'm going to allow you to do you, and you're going to do you, and I'm going to do me, and I'm going to try to do the best me that I can be. And that's kind of been where we've been at, right? And allow other beings their separated harmonies with their own souls. So that's been the current level of consciousness we've been at. So then they go on to say, there is loss and longing, which is repaired internally through the surrender to your own soul. But, and yet, within that space of surrendered inquisition, there is a knowledge that you cannot contain within you all parts of the whole. You cannot become what is not in friendship with yourself. You cannot become that which is not permeable to love. So this is why we are in this state. So it isn't a thing that we're doing it wrong, right? They're saying that it's not possible in this current 3D realm, right? That you cannot become what is not in friendship with yourself. That if something is resistant to you, it doesn't matter. You could love it till you're blue in the face. And if it won't let your love in, then it just won't. You can't force it. We can't force another person to feel love. And so we know from doing our own healing that unless we love ourselves, we can't feel love for another. We can't feel another person's love of us, right? We have to learn to love ourselves so that we will agree we are worthy of being loved. And so that's the state of reality in this 3D experience. So you could have someone who's close to you, a friend, a family member, that you are ready to love to your fullest capacity, but they are not ready to receive it, right? And they won't be able to recognize it because they're not yet receptive to it, right? They're not yet in agreement that they are deserving of the love. So yeah, so it is, and I love how they phrase it. I think it's so beautiful. You cannot become what is not in friendship with yourself. You cannot become that which is not permeable to love. So it is really, can we unify? We can't unify with everything in this reality because people are still separated from themselves. Yeah, amazing. Next paragraph. This creates for the soul a sense of isolation from itself, as if you must be surrendered in this time and place to a permanent state of I am, but they are not. And this endowment is in grace. It is an apportionment of what is grace itself. So it really is, they're saying this is a stage of growth. So it makes sense that if we are an expansion of what is divine energy, of what is the divine, at some point, the divine asked itself, what am I? And it entered into a state of separation. And so we have been living in that state of separation, exploring that state of separation, trying to understand who we are, or what we are as a soul through the process of being separated from ourselves and from each other, right? So they're saying it is in grace. It is part of the growth process. But now we are moving out of that as we move into the shift of consciousness and going back more towards unity. It's like if the expansion was the inhale, this has been the process of separation, has been the inhale as we've expanded and expanded and separated further and further and further and further apart from each other. And then finally we will exhale and we will all come back together in one, right? I mean, this is the masculine energy. Inhale, expand, right? Stretch out, move more and more and more towards individuality and separation. And then finally, then we relax into the feminine, right? In the exhale, and we bring all the pieces back, everything back into oneness. And so it's just not just like in the body, right? The body holds all the lessons of the universe. Yeah. So next paragraph, they say this creates for the soul, okay, a sense of isolation from itself, as if you must be surrendered in this time and place to a permanent state of I am, but they are not. And this is an endowment of grace. It is an apportionment of what is grace itself. It leaves the self with a surrendered thought, which is that loving myself includes a separative statement from that which is not love. So this is, again, a really important thing about what it has been to be whole in the 3D reality. It has it has been it's been about how like having boundaries. It's been the idea of saying, okay, I will there's certain behaviors I'll tolerate and certain behaviors I won't tolerate, certain types of friends that I feel are supportive of my vibration, and some are not, right? It is what am I going to choose to bring into my reality that is in alignment with who I am. And so loving myself means honoring myself, honoring my feelings, listening to my feelings, and acting on them, and not violating by allowing things that don't feel to be in alignment with who I am, right? So loving myself includes a separative statement from that which is not love, and love being all that I am. So yeah, it's beautiful how much they have in here. And I feel like it's a complex message. It's so simple in some ways and so complex. And it is a lovely statement about what God is, what humans are, what soul development is, but it's also a really personal message about what is loss, right? And then also what is soul evolution. So there's so many layers to this. What does it mean to us as an individual? What does it mean to us from the collective, from humanity standpoint? What does it mean at the universal level? You know, it's applicable on every level. I starred this next paragraph. It says, as you move into the next new beginning, you shall be reacquainted with what is self that is other, what is friendship that with that which cannot yet love you, that which cannot yet know itself, for has not yet become itself. So this is important. They're saying that part of this transition period. So we're moving from the state where we say, okay, if something is not love, then it won't be part of my experience, right? I'm only going to let in love into my experience. We're going to have to go into a period where we are trying to incorporate a higher octave of ourselves, which does not yet know itself. And we have been conditioned to learn in this reality that if something doesn't know itself, then it's not love. And so they're saying we're going to become into friendship with that which cannot yet love you, right? That as it comes up, it's going to feel confused and uncertain, and who am I and who are you, and this kind of thing, right? And that which cannot yet know itself, or it has not yet become itself. So this is the feeling of the confusion, the uncertainty, all of that. And it's going to feel a little uncomfortable, but it doesn't have to be for long, right? It's just letting us know so that when this happens, we won't feel like we accidentally made a wrong step, that just so we understand why it might feel disconcerting. And it's partly because of our conditioning, because of the process of how the expansion works. Yeah. They go on to say, next paragraph, this creates in the sense of self, this creates in the self a sense of I am one with what I am, and I must lose that tenderly held sensation in order to catapult myself into the next becoming, right? So it is that idea that, yep, I've got this down. I know what I'm doing. I know who I am. I feel really comfortable in like understanding myself. And now that's out the window, and I don't anymore, right? And if I let in this higher vibration, it's going to be a vibration of, I don't know who I am anymore, right? I don't know what it is to be me anymore, because this is in a brand new context. And that's what they're trying to identify as much as they can here, right? In order to catapult myself into the next becoming. So there's a big motivation to do this. Loss is an experience you will be having. Loss is the sense of yourself yourself in the beginnings of a new friendship with what is the next endowment of your soul. So that's where becoming friends with the higher version of ourself. Next paragraph. The next who you are comes to itself readily, comes to itself with less anxiety than has been held in previous incarnations. So this is the good news, that it won't be as hard for this higher aspect of ourself to come to terms with who it is. It won't take as long as it took us. It won't be as hard. It will be something, they say, it comes to itself readily. So this is just the beginning stages, is going to be confusing, and it won't take long, because in the new reality is not, it's not about that. Like, that has been the journey. Trying to figure out who we are has been the journey of this whole state of consciousness. That's not the job of the higher state of consciousness. The higher state of consciousness is going to be about learning to be manifestors. It's going to be learning about how to work with our creative apparatus. So a very different job in the new reality, but we have to get over this hump, right? And so, but they say it'll come to us readily. It comes to itself with less anxiety that has been held in previous incarnations. There is a sense of your own permanence in this world and in all realities. There's trust and faith in where you are heading. So in other words, we'll still feel like, okay, I trust I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right thing, right? We'll have that feeling of the confidence comes from that encourages us to keep going. And then they say, and yet the soul knows what it has experienced thus far. The soul knows that that which it is not cannot be held too close at first. That which it is not must be known before it can experience love. And so this is that conditioning that we have to get over. The conditioning that that which is not known, or that which isn't us, is outside of us, and that we kind of have to do the dance of like, are you love? Are you not love? Like, where do we fit? Are we friends? Are we not friends? We have to get to know each other, right? That's the thing that we have to get over as this new part of ourselves rises up. It must be, we think, okay, well, that which it is not must be known before it can experience love. And there is part of that, which is that to be loved is to be known, right? Is that the idea that as we experience love, in order to experience love, we have to be open enough. We have to love ourselves enough to be willing to be seen, to open our hearts up, to not hide ourselves. If we hide something, it can't be loved. How can it be loved if nobody sees it? So there's a piece of this, which is about that too, which is that it's almost like we have to, that which it is not, that which is not known, or that which, sorry, I'm getting really tongue tied. That which it is not must be known before it can experience love. Yeah. So anyways, I think there's multiple layers to this, but I think that is a beautiful thought. Going on, next paragraph, they say, thus there is otherness and separation reintroduced to who you are. So as we go into the higher state of consciousness, we will go back to the idea of otherness and separation temporarily, while we are allowing this higher octave of ourself to come up and to start to get to know it and start to feel the love within it, right? A sense of yourself in separation with what is new to you, with what is yet becoming, with what cannot yet be known. And part of the reason it can't be known is because it doesn't exist yet, right? The new reality doesn't yet exist. And so there's a big part of uncertainty there that can't be helped. They go on to say, and thus the unfolding has begun, and the sense of yourself as having been something more enduring, more whole, becoming more lost and more separated from yourself. And this is confusion. So that's the idea, right? From junior high to high school, or from big chick in little egg to little chick in big world. They go on to say, next paragraph, there is ache in this loss, the loss from what was endowed, which has been held as incorporated, as done, as completed, as the I amness has been, as if the I amness has been felt to completion. So this is really talking about, that's what we're giving up, is that sense of confidence that we've earned. And they go on to say, but in the preparation for the evolution of who you are, this completion must unravel yet again. So that's the cracking of the egg, right? If the egg represents the completion, in order to grow, the egg's got to crack. And they go on and say, and in the unraveling, there is the felt experience once more of loss. And then here they speak to us. They say, we encourage you in the knowing of yourself that all expansion leads to higher heights, greater depth of self-loving. All expansion leads to the incorporation of more of who you can become. This wholeness is yet endowed with separation. It cannot become the allness of you, because it is felt as a surrendered experience to that which is love and that which is not. So I think this paragraph really sums it up beautifully. And they're really encouraging us, saying it's like this is leading you to a path of higher growth. This is leading you to a path of greater self-expansion. But they say the where we are right now, it cannot become all of who we are, that we can't embody everything while we're here, because of the fact that this is a surrendered experience to separation. That's what this 3D reality is. That in order to love ourselves here, in order to get to love here, we have to set boundaries against that which is not love, right? And so the whole inherently succeeding in 3D is separation at some level. And so it's trying to be whole within ourselves and separated from that which is not love. And the next reality is not that. It is where we move that separation a level out and we move into unity at a higher level. So yeah, so that by itself, I think, is a really, really big concept. Yeah. And then next paragraph, they say, in the wholeness of your next experiencing, all shall be felt as what is loving all that is. So this is the difference, right? So right now we are, how do I love myself? And it is by separating myself from what is not love. At the higher state of consciousness, it is loving all that is. And so that would not be possible at this level because of the fact that the dynamics, we can't love ourselves unless we are honoring ourselves. And to honor ourselves, we have to separate ourselves from what is not love. So it's really amazing when you think about it. And then what would have to shift in order for it to get to us to get to the place of true unity, that separation has to fall away. And we have to get to this space where everyone is willing to be in love, where everyone's willing to open themselves to be seen and to be loved and to all of that, right? Yeah. Next paragraph, they say, loss shall be felt, confusion. Who am I? What am I? In the undoing of where I have been, in the unlacing of what I have defined myself as, the self-definition as one who can understand themselves, who can incorporate themselves within this density. The letting go of this shall not be readily accepted by yourselves. You shall feel as if you have taken a turn against where you should be going, as if this next placement of your soul has somehow surrendered in the wrong direction. And they're saying, we encourage yourselves to know this is not the case. And so this is important, right? Like we know when this happens, don't worry. This is just part of it. This, we have to go through the stillness, the sea, the grief, the stillness, and then let the new reality emerge. It is only that to be found more whole, you must yet again unveil the tenderest parts of yourself. You must set down the barricades of I am whole with what I am now and become what is not yet known. And so this is like that idea of beginner's mind of think about the feeling of being an expert at something and how it gives you a certain state of confidence, right? And then imagine turning around and like imagine you had a job that you've been doing for 20 years and you're used to being the one everyone comes to for answers and you're used to knowing where everything is and how to do everything and you know all the people and you know how it's done. And then all of a sudden you move to a brand new job and you know nothing and you're like the newbie and nobody's asking you for help on anything and you're totally lost, right? And that is the experience. That's the experience we're going to be going through. You must set down, and they're saying that experience, the feeling of knowing all the answers is a barricade, right? That blocks us because it's part of our self-identity. And if we're really, it's a good identity. Like it's a nice feeling to feel like you have the answers. So it becomes a barricade to this new concept of beginner's mind, of being willing to go back to square one. So they say, set down the barricades of I am whole with what I am now, right? I've got the answers, set that down. And they say, become what is not yet known. And where separation has been an accepted state, you shall now encompass all that is. So this is what's at stake for us, is that we will, by doing this, we will get to the place where we set down separation and become one with all that is. This shall be felt over time through the endurance of your own willingness to expand beyond your soul as it stands. So this is a beautiful part where they're talking about us. Like what is humanity? Like what is amazing about us as humans? And here's what they're saying. This shall be felt over time through the endurance of your own willingness to expand beyond your soul as it stands. So they're really honoring the fact that we are constantly growing, that we are always willing to expand, right? That this is something unique about us and amazing about us, right? We have this incredible endurance that we go through life after life after life trying to grow. And they go on to say the willingness to open yourself to a greater heightened state of permeability to all that will unfold, all that shall become, but is not yet known. So it's with that willingness, right? And it takes a ton of courage, right? To come to Earth takes so much courage. That's the crazy thing. Like everybody who's here, like, we think that like some people on Earth have really got it together and some don't. And the truth is that every single person that came to Earth won the lottery. Like every single person that is here is like an amazing soul because getting here is such an amazing gift. because it's an opportunity to encounter ourselves and all this kind of stuff. And so many other beings are dedicating themselves to our experience here, right? We all have a team. There's tons of angels and guides and like loads of other souls who are trying to help us on this growth process. Like, this is where the action is, right? Lots is happening here. Yeah. And but so everybody here on some level is an amazing soul. And and so this is the idea that because the reason that they're amazing is really the courage that it takes to come to earth, to be able to be willing to face ourselves, to be willing to grow, to push out of our comfort zones. Yeah. Next paragraph, they say the wholeness of you is yet something experienced, something real and profound. So they're saying that the fact that we have felt like we've been whole up until now has been real, that it's not something we imagined. It's not something to be diminished. The fact that we were able to grow into the chick inside the egg, like to get to that level of maturity, they're saying is a very big deal. It's not to be diminished. Just because the fact that we're ready to move beyond it doesn't make it any less important. The wholeness of you is yet something experienced. So it's real. We experienced it. They say something real and profound. What you have loved has nourished your soul. So all parts of yourself that you brought back into wholeness, all parts of yourself that you've loved has nourished your soul and created the expansion which is now before you. But in order to lean into the fullness of the next endowment of grace, which is before you now, this must all be set down, relinquished. The title of I am must evolve, and this shall be felt as loss. And for this, we endow you with the grace of our presence to be the witness to what shall be felt as painful. And this is the angels, this is how they help us. By being the witness, they help us to move through our difficult feelings by walking with us through the difficulties that we face and allowing them to be true, and allowing by being witness. When something is witnessed, I think, and this is an important thing about healing, one of the challenges that we run into as humans is that we come here, we are all divine beings, and we come to an earth where bad things happen, but we still know deep down that we are divine beings. And the biggest challenge I think we have is that we have a hard time understanding how these bad things could possibly happen. It's like there's a disbelief. There's a part of like what is it, where you just can't quite land. Like when something horrible happens to you and you're just, it's like there's a dissonance that happens where like it's like two pieces don't match. It's like, wait a minute, I know I'm a divine being, and yet this horrible thing happened, and I just cannot find a place where these two things connect. Like how did this happen to me, or how did this happen to whoever, right? Or to humanity, to whatever. How can this be? When we hear about horrible things, we just can't make sense of it. And that dissonance is a big part of the challenge of healing, is that we are constantly struggling with believing ourselves. And so one of the gifts of the angels is to be the witness and to see it, to see what we've gone through, to see our pain, and to say to us, yes, it's true. It really happened. Not only was it bad, it's worse than you imagined. It was that painful, and we are here to walk through it with you. And once we have permission, once we get validated in our experience, then the emotions can come through and they can be processed. And so that's part of what the angels are gifting us. They're saying that they will give us the grace of their presence. They will walk through this with us. They will be our witness as we go through this experience of setting down our identity and reimagining ourselves as novices in a brand new world. They say to be the witness to what shall be felt as painful, as a surrendered experiencing that must be endowed with some sorrow, a sorrowful experience of I am not all that I was anymore. And shall I become this again? You shall not. You shall not become what you were. The experiencing you have held as profoundly developmental must be let go. And into this surrendered space, an emptiness profound must occupy your hearts for a time. A sense of I am lost to myself. Who am I now? How shall I begin again? How shall I reframe what I am in this less dense, more interpretive environment? And that little bit there gets my mind wandering for sure. In this less dense, more interpretive environment, that really speaks to me, that idea that the new reality is going to be absolutely less dense. It's going to be all about creation, all about learning to master our creative abilities, right? Interpretive environment that we'll be able to interpret our reality more consciously. Super, super intriguing. Like, I'm sure that's information for another message, another day, but they just dropped it in there. I'm watching, I'm excited about that. They go on to say, it shall not be known until it becomes. But within this new framework of expansion, what shall be known in time is a greater, broader version of you. All expansion is held thus. There must be a relinquishing of what was, which shall be felt as loss. And in the enduring aspects of your soul, in the greatness of you, in the enduring aspects of your soul, the greatness of you shall be found. So this is a beautiful sentence here. In the enduring aspects of your soul, the greatness of you shall be found. It's that idea that part of what makes us amazing as beings is the willingness to continually expand, right? The enduring aspects of our soul, that which continues to grow, that which continues to thrive, right? That's part of what makes us humanity, part of what makes us part of the divine. It is in the permanence of your loving yourself. It is in the willingness to grow again, to take what was, to set down what you were, and to find in the fodder of this disintegration a newfound love of beginning. So this is that process of reinventing ourselves. And you are this. You are always this. You are the Creator's light. You are the new beginning. You have the ability to be found and renewed again and again. And within each incorporation, you become a greater light, a more endowed soul. So here they're really speaking to the journey of a soul, to this idea that this is what we always are, that we are constantly renewing ourselves, constantly experiencing ourselves, rebirthing ourselves into new contexts in order to get a greater depth of understanding of who we are. And this is part of what makes us magnificent, is that each time we do, we become a more endowed soul. But here's this last paragraph, what really gets me, you guys. They say, and through these experiencings, you incorporate more of all that is and all that is becoming. And you re-endow yourself with a new grace, with a heightened state of awareness where more things become love because you are them. The more you accept and broaden your soul, the greater love becomes. So to me, this is an amazing, amazing paragraph, because what they're saying here is that as we go through these different experiences, we incorporate more of who we are. And they're saying that, so that they're saying here is that we are the divine, right? That we are an aspect of the divine. What is the divine? Divine is love, right? Love energy. So we are love energy. And when we incorporate things to what we are, then those things become love. So we may have all these different, like in the reality that we're living in right now, it's about trying to incorporate aspects of us, the pieces of ourself that we pushed away, that we don't want to acknowledge or wish didn't happen or whatever it is. And through that process, we are reintegrating those things back into love. We're letting them become one with us, and we are love. So we're expanding. As those things come to us, we expand. The love that we are gets bigger. So we are becoming more and more and more and more and more love. The more of us we reintegrate, the more the bigger the love is, right? So that's the first level. And so then they say, and through these experiences, you incorporate more of all that is and all that is becoming. So as we move into this next stages, we start to incorporate what is outside of ourselves and bring these things into oneness with us. If they are one with us, they also become love, right? The more we add, and if we can move into a unified state of consciousness, love itself gets bigger. There is more love in the universe. There's more God in the universe because we are that, right? We are the love that is the divine. So if we can get to the state of unity, then the total mass of love in the universe gets bigger, right? Within it, and they say with a heightened state of awareness where more things become love because you are them. So when you become things, they become love. The more you accept and broaden your soul, the greater love becomes. So the more we grow, the more God itself, God herself, God source self expands. The more love there is in the universe. Isn't that incredible, you guys? That last paragraph, I was amazed by that last paragraph. Wow. So, all right, you guys, have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day. And I will see you guys next Friday live. Bye, you guys. Have a great day.